Welcome back to the broadcast. Many thanks for staying with us here on NTV. This is Front and Center, where we seek to dissect the biggest political and governance issues in the Republic, what's happening in this country, to try and make sense of it all for you. And tonight we are taking an in-depth look into the what is set to be a simmering battle royale between Raila Odinga, the Azimio One Kenya leader, and the President William Ruto, following remarks by Odinga just a couple of days ago, where he said he did not recognize Ruto as the president, saying that he was in office illegally. He has said a lot of this, and of course rallying up his supporters in Azimio to have or to hold several meetings, starting with a follow-up meeting of the Kamukunji one this time on Sunday at the Jacaranda grounds. So we are trying to get a sense of what is the game plan for Raila Odinga, and how does the president, respond to all this. I'm joined in studio tonight by communication strategist Mark Bichachi. I have also with me lawyer and political analyst Martin Olo, and political analyst and strategist Javas Bigambo. We were set to be, as earlier advertised, to be joined by governance experts Rachel Omolo, but she has got an emergency. She wouldn't be joining us tonight, so it's all men tonight. Let me get you a very quick reactions, Mark Bichachi, if I can begin with you, to what has been happening over the last couple of days, with almost some pundits saying we are rewinding the clock to 2017. Do you think it's as dire as that, or what's your take on it?
Well, I think the stage has been set by both leaders of Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. Of course, the president came out with the allegations around the murder plot against Wafula Chebukati, which again refers to the elections of 2022 and revives ghosts of what happened. Now, shortly after that, the person of Raila Odinga came out and said that he has a dossier that shows that William Ruto is illegally in office. Now, we must situate this in the broader conversation. The broader conversation is there is a commission of inquiry into the previous election, how the IEBC conducted itself, and also we do have commissioners who've exited the stage, and there will be a necessity to fill those positions. And what we are seeing today is a battle for those positions and who gets to tell the story of what really happened in 2022.
Martin, what is your take on the utterances by Raila Odinga and William Ruto in response?
I think that both of them know the truth. They know that elections are stolen. They also know that Kenyans steal exams. They also know that Kenyans don't love paying tax. So they generally know that our integrity is very low. Remember, both Ruto and Raila were together in ODM when they stormed KICC. At that time, Martha Karua was on the other side. They said elections were stolen. Indeed, Kofi Annan and Kriegler told us our elections are stolen. So both of them know the truth.
Right.
The question is, who stole? And the question is, what have we now institutionalized? We've just seen KCSE was released the other day, and those results stink. Those A's, and everybody's, no, it never works like that. That's how our election results also appear. You wonder, how could somebody have gotten all these votes and won? So they both know the truth, and so we will see what they tell us.
Javas, are we that rotten as a society? What do you think?
Well, by the remarks of Honorable Raila Odinga, he has chosen to upset the apple cart. And by so doing, he has ushered us into a festival, laundry festival, right after elections, where we're already seeing the washing of dirty linen just commencing. Yeah. And they seem so much determined to push or to place their foot on the pedal all the way to the floor. What is worrying is that, tying it to the remark and the question you asked at the beginning, that are we getting to 2017 yet again? I don't think that we're getting to 2017 yet again. I think we are getting to 2007 yet again. And I say so because when you examine the quality of language being used by our leaders, It is the kind of language that is insightful in nature, the kind of language that does not bring dignity to our nationhood and the character and the quality of even these politicians. And in fact, it's even more disturbing that they are being applauded by their supporters. It is so disturbing that where we thought we had moved steps forward, we indeed are being brought to the reality that we had not even made a step at all. I say we thought we had moved a step because even our constitution itself has prescribed certain values of good governance and the values of our nation. If those indeed are the values of our nation, why are we seeing leaders that are valueless? So these questions are important, and they're the kind of questions that now set the wheels turning even for the discussions tonight.
Thank you, and we're going to get right deeper into that and other things that have been said, including Raila Odinga's latest remarks, where he did say, divulge that he had information that there were 4 servers being used by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. One was in the Netherlands, another one was in Venezuela, according to Odinga. And the other 2 were in the country, one at Anniversary Towers, the IEBC headquarters, and another one at industrial area, saying that only one was used, and that's the one in Venezuela. We'll listen to all that and, of course, get deeper into what's happening in this country. Stay with us. This is Front and Center.
Centum Real Estate brings to you 265 Elma 1 Apartments, the newest and most stylish development in Kasarani. Pay a deposit of 250,000 Kenya shillings and the balance in flexible installments or mortgage finance.
Kidani Mabati roofing tips. Trim any overhanging tree branches that might be near your roof. Overhanging limbs have the potential to snap off and seriously harm your roof.
Kidani Mabati, located along the Eastern Bypass, Kamakis, have you in mind with amazing offers. We also have a Lipa Pole Pole option and free delivery countrywide. Call us today on 0708 111 105 or SMS to 24900 to place your order. Tujenge Kenya na Kidani Mabati.
Data Protection Fact Sheet Mandate. 1. Protect the privacy of individuals, and 2. Establish the legal and institutional mechanism to protect personal data.
Join the ODPC as we commemorate Data Privacy Day on the 27th of January from 8 a.m. at the Kenyatta International Convention Center under the theme Promoting Data Protection in Digitally Transformed Economy.
My father once told me, the future generations will remember us not by what we say, but by what we do.
Shosh and Gooks, here is my gift to you.
It's Christmas time. Vumana Optiven by buying any of our value-added properties today. For any deposit of 125,000 shillings towards any of Optiven's property, you get yourself a Christmas voucher worth 2,500 shillings.
He number 0790 300 300.
Who am I? Why am I here? What will I be remembered for?
These questions come to a man at different stages of his life.
Early for some, late for others. Yet some men go through life groping for answers.
But fortunately for you, this doesn't have to be the case.
The second edition of Man Cave is an event
where you'll get to spend time with different men. Learn from those who've gone ahead of you
on the journey that is a man's life. Take a trip to the serene lake house, Tigoni, and experience the perfect boys getaway. Full of fun-filled games, cars, food, nyama choma, drinks, networking opportunities. 25th of February. Grab your tickets by going to www.kenyabars.com today. The Man Cave. It's a man's affair.
Welcome back to the broadcast. This is Front and Center here on NTV. Azimio leader Raila Odinga has said that he does not recognize him and his Azimio outfit do not recognize William Ruto as legitimate president, saying they will have more rallies, especially starting with one on Sunday at Jacaranda, to give the way forward to his supporters. He has also been speaking. Here are the latest remarks from him, talking about servers used by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. Listen.
First, we discovered that there were 4 different servers. There's one server which was in the Netherlands, in the clouds. 2, there was another server in Venezuela. 3, there was another server in the anniversary towers, headquarters of the Electoral Commission. 4, there was another server in the industrial area. And 5th, there was a portal at the National Tallying Center at the Bomas of Kenya. So what would happen was that when these results were being transmitted to the polling station and even from the constituency tallying center, they were going to these 4 servers. But to the server in Venezuela, where it was manipulating the results, altering results, and transmitting to the portal which was at the National Tallying Center. That is where the crime was committed.
All right, I have with me communication strategist Mark Bichache, if you're just joining us, lawyer and political analyst Martin Olo, and Javas Bigambo, political analyst. Javas, let me come to you with this. What do you think of those latest remarks by the Azimio leader?
Well, first of all, I know that the principle, the mother law of this country, grants us the freedom of speech, opinion, thought, etc., and all the political rights that we have, which rights, of course, are due to all of us, including Honorable Raila-Odinga. The remarks by the former Azimio presidential candidate Raila-Odinga are remarks that are raising critical concerns when he's talking about the servers in various places, when he's talking about the issue of the portal at the National Tallying Center, at the Bomas at the time, and the issue of alteration of the results as they were trickling in. But you see, there is the question that the justices at the Supreme Court asked, that if at all it's true, and it proved very difficult to be responded to by the counsels for representing Azimio, that if it's true that there was falsification or alteration of the images that were being transmitted to IEBC, how come that such alteration did not affect the physical forms, 34A, that had been filled at the polling stations, which the agents of even Azimio had? And even during that time, there was no proving that particular forms 34A that they were brought physically varied with the contents that were in the portal. Now, you see, I think as we look at and examine the discourse post-election concerning the alleged rigging, etc., we also need to be very objective and genuine in these reflections and utterances. Question is, did Azimio prove that there was a single or 3 forms or 20 forms, 34A, that were altered, and that looking at the details in the portal varied with form 34A? But beyond that, you know, as a matter of fact, Raila-Odinga is a very critical politician in this country for the past many decades. And for me, what I would say is that it is possible that Honorable Raila-Odinga is also struggling with election laws, the laws of the election. As a matter of fact, Ben, we know very well that in terms of looking at all these issues through legal lenses, there is no recourse for Honorable Raila-Odinga, because the Supreme Court closed this matter. But now we know that the rights that are granted to all of us, that are political rights, grants us and himself and everybody else the latitude to engage in national discourse. Question is this: what is the probable end game of all these triggers?
Good question.
And where I sit And that's why I said earlier that it's upsetting the apple cart. I even wondered that Honorable Raila Odinga, having contested the presidential election the 5th time, and not having been successful. And each time, of course, he has never come close to saying that, I think this election I lost. Then the question arises, is it possible that it's the same strategy, same trick in the Raila Odinga political playbook? Good question. It brings us to the question, what is the Raila Odinga's end game and game plan? And we'll get to that. Before we get into that, Martin, the Azimio leader has said that the election was stolen, not at the ballot of the polling station. Said in that interview, he said that that went very smoothly. The election from where he sits was stolen using technology at the point of transmitting results, presidential results to be specific. And of course, that is what he said in that interview, as well as that is what he says is the basis of the whistleblower that he says has come forward now. He's not letting it go, is he?
No, he's not letting it go. But I want to say this, and again, I want us to be very candid with ourselves. There's a deficit of truth in this country, and that lies actually sell. So Baba knows very well that he does not need to tell us the truth, and so does UDA. No, they don't have to tell us the truth. They can tell us about bottom-up, they can tell us about wheelbarrows, tell us about stolen elections, and they don't have to prove what they're saying. If one has to take Baba seriously, the election laws in this country have they have two sides to it. One, the most critical point at which elections are, votes are cast, right, and votes are counted is the polling station. What we are talking about servers, what we are talking about what are only points of transmission. And in the presidential elections, you now fall onto electronic transmission in order for you to then tally, verify those results. What Baba should be telling us is not about servers. He should be coming here with Form 34A from all the polling stations in Kenya, and he should be showing us that if I count this and I count the UDS this, I have 56%. Not servers. Servers were only transmitting that was being declared. Now, if he is saying the problem is servers, he is not telling us the truth. If we want to know the truth, let's go for the results as they were declared, and that is Form 34A. Now, you know for sure that we did our elections on August 9th. Have you seen any tabulation, any dossier, any presentation of these results by Azimio? Have they produced anything? They are telling you about a dossier, a whistleblower, but what did they do as a party? What is the strength? Do you think they will give you that? No. Because they know Kenyans are gullible. All we need to be told is they were stolen. Of course they were stolen. There was some stealing. But the question is, where is the evidence? So for now, we'll just shout about it, animate and excite people, and, the problem is that both sides are ready to lie, are ready to incite, are ready to continue on the campaign trail. If the people in government were concentrating on what they need to do, right, and doing the right things, then even Baba's noises will be irrelevant. But they keep on telling him every day, oh, you want Nusumukate, oh, then they excite him, then they get him onto the real thing, and Baba is only good when he gets into the trenches.
All right. Mark, what do you make of that whistleblower that has been talked about by the Azimio brigade and Raila Odinga's remarks in that interview?
First, we must understand where Kenya is politically. Where Kenya is politically, we came from an election where a third of the electorate didn't vote, a third voted for the president, and a third voted for Azimio, by and large, because the numbers, the difference was not that big. Now, the problem with that is that when the difference between you and your opponent is slim, there is always that sense that if I back and bite at you enough, I might catch up with you. That's number one. But also number two, the presidency is like buying a car. The moment you get into your new car and drive it out of the showroom, you lose certain value. And the truth is, the president where he sits today, if we were to do an opinion poll, there are certain hustlers who are disappointed with the price of power, the price of petrol, etc. So Raila Odinga at this moment has an ear. He has an ear. Why? Because the people of Kenya, those who voted for him, some who abstained and some who have now have buyer's remorse, are looking to him to see where do we go. Now, the truth of the matter is that if he can leverage, and I'm now speaking in terms of the psychology of communication, if he can leverage the question of the legitimacy of the presidency of one Dr. William Samoei Arap Ruto upon the minds of the people, and compound that with the question of has he delivered in the promises he gave you, then he is lying to you, and therefore I can question his legitimacy. So in terms of the psychology of the strategy, it is very clear to me that the Kenyan people are being treated to the questions of legitimacy, the question of can you trust the person who's president, knowing full well that the challenges the president faces today might not be resolved as quickly as Kenyans hope. And that's the question. Now, what is Raila Odinga's game plan? Raila Odinga's game plan must be one, because it cannot be legal. Right. The legal solution flew out of the window. The answer for him is political. Now, is it political to the extent of making him president? Maybe, maybe not. But is it political to the extent that he will make William Ruto uncomfortable and make William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua answer him at funerals when they are supposed to be attending to national business? Yes. And for as long as he is able to hold that irritating factor over this presidency, he will continue to do so. That is the strategy that is at play here. It is no longer a legal question. And if the numbers that showed up to that rally and how they were reacting to that particular rally, and the pain we are feeling at the till when we go pay for unga continues, then I'll tell you, Raila Odinga has the ability to irritate, to scratch, and to make sure that this particular government is worried. Now, what is the answer? UDA needs to make a decision. And that decision is whether they will sit comfortably on that seat of the presidency or not. Because if they decide to scratch at every itch that comes their way, they will look very uncomfortable on that seat. What they need to do in terms of managing the psychology and the communication coming out from them is they need to look focused, they need to look like they're delivering for the Kenyan people, and the more they look like that, the better for their presidency.
Javas, what's the game plan for Raila Odinga?
Well, you see, Ben, I said earlier that Raila Odinga is a gifted politician. He's also a gifted irritant politically. And one thing about Raila Odinga is that he hates being ignored. And that is one thing that is disturbing him. The fact that age is not his friend and time is also not on his side, he is worried that the sunset years of his politics could have him politically ignored, especially by the centers of power. And that's one thing that's disturbing Raila Odinga. On the question of legitimacy, as Mark reflects on it, I would say this, that it is not about the approximately 6 million that voted for Raila Odinga and then about 8 million that absconded, and that when you tally all this together and sum, then you say that it will tilt against the president because of the majority of numbers this other side. Look, when it comes to exercising rights, political rights or any other right, you are at liberty. One cannot and will not argue that those who did not exercise their political right of voting, then they are in favor of Raila Odinga and they would have voted for him. If they would have voted for Raila Odinga, then they would have walked to the polling booth and voted for Raila Odinga.
No one has made that argument.
No, it has been made. It has been made. Additionally, I would say this, that I think the gods of election have disowned Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga is an active politician, but is a very lousy candidate. And that is why his partnership or friendship with Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, former president, made him pocket his hands and walk into a very competitive election. Because he assumed that with the blessing of the system on his side, as it then was, then it would work for him. And he realized that actually, even if you stay close to the river, as long as you don't go to fetch the water, you will continue washing your face with spittle.
All right.
And that's the unfortunate situation of Raila Odinga.
All right.
And so when we look at the options that he has, Raila Odinga, as a matter of fact, is just keen on finding himself politically significant in this Dr. William Ruto's regime by way of a handshake. We cannot, and let me tell you this, when Honorable Raila Odinga at Kamukunji said these words, that President William Ruto should not reconstitute IBC alone, that, of course, itself was indicative that he wanted a consultative process. When Raila Odinga is talking about a consultative process, he's not referring to the nearly 74 political parties that are registered in this country. He's talking about him being on that table with the president.
All right.
And that itself is a pathway to a handshake. Sadly,
you know,
Ben,
this handshake thing, needs to be...
but let's face it. Let's face it, Ben.
I want us to talk
As
about
a
the
matter of
handshake
fact,
thing.
yes. How many handshakes have we had in this country? Close to 5.
All right. So Raila Odinga has said he does not want a handshake.
He wants it.
He said that. I'll come back to you for that. Martin.
Yes.
In Kamukunji, he said very animatedly that I do not want a handshake with you, Mr. President. The president said, I will not succumb to, you know, your pressure and give you a handshake. So that's the situation. Do you think that is the ultimate goal here by the
I don't think that this issue of handshake, I think we're overplaying this issue. And again, this is when I listen to Javas here, the people who advise the UDA guys keep on misleading them. Why do they keep talking about handshake? They told us handshake is that took the unga up, handshake is that took petrol up, and all the ills of the past were handshake. Now, these things are all up and they're going up and taxes are going up and handshake is not there. So this thing about handshake is an irritant, right? Something that doesn't make sense. And to say, oh, that what Raila is looking for is handshake is to miss the political issues, is to miss the reality of Kenyan politics. Because what Kenyans are doing to, what Raila is doing to Ruto is what Ruto was doing to Uhuru. And that was Ruto looking for political handshake. The point is that opposition is the nature of the political game, even though the president is saying he wants to organize opposition. No. So whatever is happening, and Raila has every right to talk the way he's talking, I will defend his rights any day about it. The point is that then the reactions that are coming from the government side are totally misplaced. Oh, they want handshake, so what? The point is this: if this country is going to burn, we will have to sit down on a table and fix it. It's not about Raila or Ruto. No. We must fix this country. And this country needs, people need food, people need to have affordable cost of living. There are many things that need to be done. Right. And as long as these things are not in place, the same lies that we were told about handshake will revisit this current regime. So we better face the truth.
All right. Let me go to Mark, then come back to you. Does Raila Odinga and the Azimio fraternity, are they playing to have some kind of power sharing deal or agreement?
You know, it's an interesting thing, and let me just say this first and foremost. It's only in Kenya where bipartisanship has been labeled handshake and is a terrible thing. Where we got this idea from is a uniquely Kenyan experience, and I know I'm giving a very unpopular opinion. I am not saying that Raila Odinga should seek a handshake. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we need to live in a country where UDA and Azimio can sit down and talk and say, we agree that we need to build a dual carriageway from here to Mombasa, for example. And that is not a bad thing. This idea that political parties and people should not talk is quite a cake in my view. But that being besides the point, I do not think Azimio will go far if what they are seeking is a handshake with the person of William Ruto. William Ruto has declared his position and his strategy from the beginning. And what he has done is he has cut Azimio by the feet, one MP at a time, over and over again. Most recently, again this Monday when he met Jubilee MPs. His strategy is clear. His handshake is not from the top. His handshake is from the bottom up. So the strategy of handshakes is already being implemented. In fact, what we saw on Monday between Sabina Chege, if you remember what he said about William Ruto, and William Ruto, that handshake is by definition a handshake. But William Ruto's interest in a handshake is to make sure that the foot soldiers in Azimio are not there. So if anyone is advising Azimio that a handshake is the end goal, no, that's not it. However, there remains a big and glaring opportunity for them in the political space of this country. One, Putin does not look like he's going to do a ceasefire with Ukraine anytime soon. OPEC does not seem like they will increase how much fuel is being supplied in this country anytime soon. The shilling seems to be bowing down to the dollar with every passing day. Our belts are getting tighter, some of us by diet, others by constraints of the economy. The fact of the matter is this, that it is going to be difficult for William Ruto to deliver the promises he made to Kenyans. And therein is the political opportunity to make it rough and noisy, just as William Ruto had done to Uhuru Kenyatta. Right. That is the political opportunity.
Now, that is true. But let us also reflect these things quite candidly.
Wants a handshake?
Is there a single regime here in Kenya that has ever implemented its manifesto to even 40%? Not a single one. 40%. Now, wait.
People don't live in history.
Yes. No.
They live in reality.
No, that's what I'm saying. Now, you see, I'm not holding a brief. The point is this. The point is this.
The issue is
I'm anchoring my thought on the argument that was made at Kamukunji by Honorable Raila Odinga, that Honorable William Ruto has not delivered on the promises he made. Delivered on the promises he made. Now, of course,
and you know 6 months is not enough to deliver.
It's not enough.
So what you need to know is that lies.
And that's why for me, I'm saying this, that this issue of public consultations is merely a red herring. It is a red herring, and it's because Raila Odinga has got an axe beneath his arm. And this axe, he's not exposing it. And that's why counsel here is indicating quite rightfully, and I agree so, that the issue here is about the political interests of Raila Odinga, and also there is the political interests of Honorable William Ruto. That is a fact. When you talk about, and Mark here speaks about the issue of these leaders coming together to talk. Now, I don't want to go into a theoretical presumption that if Raila Odinga were president, would he have entertained the thought of talking with Honorable William Ruto to see how they can take the country forward.
All right.
President William Ruto has got his own manifesto. Raila Odinga had his own manifesto. But this country is ours. The Christians say that the wages of sin is death. And so for me, I also say that whether it is the side of government or opposition, the wages of incitement will be the destruction of this country. Now, when we talk about the two factions or the two sides of the coalitions coming together to talk for the greater good of this country, the argument for me, where I sit, is not about just these two leaders. For me, it's about seeing how, first, the critical issues of national interest and attention are given critical attention by the government of the day because it has got express mandate of the people, the social contract.
All right.
Secondly, the opposition and Azimio and Raila Odinga, properly so, should actually keep the government in check. But saying that, for instance, that the government should resign because it has not delivered, and as my brother here is indicating, it is unreasonable. So
Raila Odinga said the government should resign or should not be in power because it was not elected legitimately, according to what he's saying. I want us to talk about the president, and you'll prosecute all those points. To talk about the president's response so far and what the future holds now that we're going to have a rally in Jacaranda and probably more. Before we do that, let's listen to what the Azimio leader Raila Odinga said about what he wants the president to do. Listen.
Mr. William Ruto did not win an election. He lost the elections. I won the elections. So he's there illegally as a president. And what we are going to demand is that Mr. Ruto should resign and let the Kenyans have their will. The people's will is the God's will. And in my view, that is what should happen. He says that he's a man of God. He respects righteousness. He respects the rule of law. So let him follow. Let him live up to what he has been professing. These elections were flawed. He did not win these elections. He lost them.
All right, Martin, very clear from Raila Odinga what he wants and what he wants the president to do. Flip the coin. How would you say the president's reaction and response has been to this so far, especially in comparison with the previous cycle where we had a similar situation?
You see, what I have a problem with the president is that he is too quick to talk. And when he talks, he answers everything and he says everything. I mean, there's a place where you need to sit back and reflect. It's not that every time Raila speaks, the president should speak. And if the president wants to speak every time Raila speaks, then he should be ready for ping pong. And that is not what you do. He should be presidential. He should absorb criticism and move on. The less he talks, the better. But the moment he wants to do ping pong with Raila, you can be only sure that Raila will have the upper hand, because this is what he does. And if you recall, for a long time, when Ruto was a pain in Uhuru's presidency, Uhuru never used to answer him. He never used to answer him. Even at Bomas, if you remember, where he gave this lecture, Uhuru never used to answer. So he should learn something from Uhuru. I don't think he respects Uhuru a lot, but at least he should learn from Uhuru to, just keep your cool, listen, don't agree, but don't say it, because you don't have to say it. So the point is that what Baba is saying is his view. Of course, it's not about a legality here, because the president has the instruments and he was sworn in. So really he is legitimately and legally in power. But legitimacy and legality sometimes do not answer political issues. You don't say, I am in the seat. You can be in that seat and the rug is being pulled all the time, and you will not be comfortable with that seat. And the African leaders know only too good that they stay until they are overrun by ideas and so on. So basically what we are hearing here is, and for me, Baba still hasn't told me how he won. He hasn't brought me from 34A and shown actually that in the pollings, these were. So what he's saying, and talking about servers, that's a good story, but it does not answer the point. If you recall, again, this thing about what if elections were to be overturned, and that was the question being canvassed in the Supreme Court.
All right.
Would it be automatic that the Supreme Court would then declare him the president? No, because the Supreme Court said, we do not have such powers to so do. But let's come down to the crux of it. Now that we know that elections are stolen, and you heard Chebukati saying that he was being offered deals, what he didn't tell us is what the other side offered him, what deals the other side cut. It's so obvious that even for the three commissioners working together in isolation of the other, they were cutting deals. And the CEO around there, they were cutting deals.
Well, that's an assumption, Martin, isn't
yes,
it?
Yes, it's an assumption. That's what I'm saying. What could three people in a commission be disagreeing with the other four people in a commission? What could they be doing? They were disagreeing over something. And that's what I'm saying. There must have been something that they were disagreeing on.
Right.
So basically when we look at it, and by the way, one of the things that I don't believe in is that as long as our elections are held in a polling station, this IBC or any other IBC is actually not going to be able to give us credible elections. You know why? The polling centers that are critical in election declaration, voting and so on, are not manned by IBC staff. They are manned by temporary teachers, temporary graduates, and temporary people generally who have no jobs.
Good points.
Who are then given those jobs. So they are under IBC, but they are not IBC staff.
All right. Good point.
So until we change that,
yes,
we are still going to talk about these things every year.
Mark Bichache, talk to us about President Ruto's response to what has been thrown his way by Raila Odinga so far.
You know, there's nostalgia almost that has gripped this country concerning 2022. Every other day we must be reminded they had the system, they had the presidency, but we beat them because we had God and the people. And this nostalgia seems to have gripped our political discourse, but also gripped the presidency. By that I mean our president and the deputy. That response will only add fuel to the fire that is being lit by Azimio. That is the unfortunate reality. Why do I say that it is unfortunate? Because I'd very much rather discuss issues of inflation. I'd very much rather discuss issues of the price of my electricity bill, because soon I'll be having a heart attack if they send me another bill. That's what we should discuss. But for as long as there's nostalgia and we're gripped within 2022, and remember, elections in this country, by the time even the commissioners are done, they're not really sure who won. From Kivuitu all the way to Chebukati in 2017. And the Supreme Court showed this. So we don't want to dwell there. Now, for as long as the presidency continues to dwell there, guess what? If I was advising Raila Odinga, I would tell him you're doing the right dance because it's attracting the attention of the powers that be. Secondly, the presidency itself has decided that they will talk about murder plots against Chebukati and other intrigues. Let me tell you, whether you like it or not, when you're sitting in the presidency, you have the power, you have the other hand. You cannot then play victim. And that's the narrative shift that needs to happen. Before ascending to power, UDA could play the victim card to extreme efficiency. However, to try to do so now, all it does is beg the question, haven't you realized where you are? Haven't you realized who you are? Haven't you realized you've achieved? So there needs to be a change in the mindset of the presidency to be in power and to begin to act and behave as though that power is comfortable with you. If you do not behave in such a manner, what will happen is that the opposition will keep chipping away at you, and every time you bark at a dog, the more you resemble the dog. And that's really where it is. Right. So when the rubber hits the road, my final point is the presidency needs to be also aware that they, in their manifesto, promised 6 months, 3 months plan. We have a plan, we have solutions. They set themselves up in the classic communication mistake where you overpromise and you underdeliver. It is always better to underpromise and overdeliver. Where they are now is unique to them because they gave very short timelines for their promises.
All right. Javas, Mark says they should not dwell where they are, the political class. Should we move on as a country? And I'm talking about, politically speaking. And who should set that agenda? Is it that the Azimio fraternity, from where you sit, are they playing the opposition or minority card the way they should by dwelling on this politicking kind of situation? And the other question is the government side. Should they be the bigger man, so to speak, and ignore the political chippings by Azimio and deliver? Because, like you have all rightly put, Kenya is undergoing many problems, economic, the dollar against the US, the shilling against the US dollar and all that. So who does this back? Where does this back stop?
With regard to matters election, presently Azimio is rearranging the deck chairs in the Titanic. And the trouble is that now the Kenya Kwanza is stuck at the point of the sinking of the Titanic to confirm actually what Azimio is doing in terms of rearranging the deck chairs, instead of continuing with the sail. There is the issue of the fierce urgency of now. Today, every family here is nearly struggling with the issue of school fees for their children, the issue of food on the table, the issue of the quality of living, etc. And nearly everything, even farmers, whether they are smallholder farmers or large-scale farmers, they are feeling the pinch. The economy has nosedived so much that it will take so much, not just resilience, but effort on the part of the leadership. So what is important, what is urgent on the part of the President and Kenya Kwanza, is to stop writing promissory notes. The issue of keeping saying that we are going to do this, we are going to make sure, for example, that we implement ABCD. Stop the issue of promising. Do it because you've got the power with you. Because the advantage that Kenya Kwanza has today, Azimio does not have. And that is why Azimio is rightfully engaging in the politics of pinching and pushing Kenya Kwanza regime. The thing is this: Azimio is doing so much and succeeding at unsettling the government and government operatives. What government should do is using the power of the purse to deliver to Kenyans. For example, the issue here is not just about what was committed to be delivered within the first 100 days. The question is, when a family sits today and looks at Kenya Kwanza government and how they voted for it, for example, do they feel that they are having a sense of relief by the kind of policies that are being implemented by the government? When we look also at the issue of the government initiatives in terms of policies being put in place, are they seeing that these policies are going to help pull the socks of the economy up? Today, we are still struggling with the issue of KPLC potentially going to scale up their levies and their rates.
Yes.
Now, this is bringing lots of anxiety. The issue of lots of taxation, this is an issue that the president committed when he was a candidate that he's going to deal with. Now, Kenyans are distraught when they see that the issue of various regimes of taxes continue going up against the commitments of the president. So I think it's important for the president and the government to engage the gears and live up to the true meaning of the commitments that they made.
All right.
Not to keep on responding to the issue of Raila Odinga.
We need to wind this up because of time.
And so, but for me, what I would say is that whether it is a question of the opposition keeping the government in check, I think we have come so far as a country that we can also see the quality or check the quality of language we use.
All right.
So that we are respectable, we embrace values, because engaging or trying to make your point does not mean that you need to hurl insults or use unprintable language.
Martin, very quickly, in 2 questions. Can Azimio play the opposition role better by talking about the issues that are bedeviling this country? And can or should the Kenya Kwanza administration ignore the political chippings and do what they promised to do?
I think when I look at the Kenya Kwanza, I'm telling them to do what they promised Kenyans they came to do. So they should concentrate on that. However, there are a number of things that they have done that has gone against what they promised. Kenyans are worse today because the subsidies that they have removed have meant that prices have gone up. So yes, we had subsidies on petrol. Somebody paid for that. Now you have removed that subsidy. Tell us what you are doing with that money. You promised that you are not going to take up taxes, take them higher. We are now opening up taxes on virtually everything, including computers, steel, and so on. Tell us what you're going to do with that money. But basically what you're saying is that when Sakaja is saying that he wants to clean up the city, you say he's destroying people's businesses. But you are saying close bars, close whatnot, have 1 bar per constituency. Now, I'm not talking about drunkenness, but I'm talking about businesses. I'm saying that you can't just go and tell people that all these bars are too many. Is that a priority for now? Does that hurt the economy in any way? Okay, fine. We are a Christian nation. We don't have to condone alcoholism. I have no problem with that. But people are having a livelihood. Indeed, Kenya Breweries pays taxes. It's like telling people, this banana SMS all the time, all the time. You are telling Safaricom to reduce its taxes to you. You are telling Kenya Breweries to reduce taxes, because then if they don't sell, what is going to happen? So the scene industry essentially is the one that actually runs an economy. Cigarettes, alcohol and so on. And the reason why we tax them is we factor in all those things. We say, look, these Bichachi fellows who are drinking, let them pay some more. So already there is a punitive element of tax.
So that's not should not be priority from where you sit.
Yeah, from where I sit. So basically what we are saying is that, look, when you have an opportunity to run a country, please run it.
All right.
Govern it and focus. I mean, Kibaki never said a thing. If he stood up to say anything, you thought he was irrelevant, but he was deflecting you from attacking him, but he was doing his job.
All right.
So this government ought to do its job. The opposition ought to question. Indeed, they have a lot of ammunition. This government is giving opposition ammunition every day. So they can only use it against them.
Mark, very quickly, should Azimio question or throw barbs at the government over real issues rather than who won the election, or serve as this whistleblower that?
When your marriage certificate is in question, and yet you've been married for 10 years, you feel unsettled in your marriage. Someone tells you your mother is not really your mother and you're a grown-up human being, you get unsettled. Why? Because foundations, when they are shaken, everything in heaven and earth is shaken. Azimio is doing a politically smart move in adding a layer of illegitimacy to the questions they are asking. It's almost as if they're telling the country, this person who claims to be your father is actually the robber who came and robbed you last night and is going to be unable to deliver the promises he made. So in terms of creating a psychological construct upon which there's great discomfort in the Kenya Kwanza side, yeah, they're doing it. But what does this country need to move forward? What this country needs to move forward is for Azimio to offer proper alternative solutions. If they're saying one bar per constituency, Azimio should say, please let us have the right number of bars, because some of us like Lingalas, other like Rumba, other like Reggae, so let's have X number of bars. When they're talking about Kenya being a Christian nation, let them question, what about the Muslims? What about the pagans? And indeed, what even about the atheists? When Kenya Kwanza is saying, give us a year to bring down the cost of fuel, Azimio should have an answer. When Kenya Kwanza is talking about GMO food, we need to ask them on the other side, what about the seed? Will our farmers be able to afford seed when this seed is all protected by IP, by the West and Western interests? That is what will move Kenya forward. Azimio needs to put the pressure on Kenya Kwanza in every aspect of administration and delivering to the promises they made. Azimio needs to check Kenya Kwanza, the way you used to play football, Apo Kitambo.
Thanks.
Man on man.
But I'll give you 40 seconds only for your final remarks.
Well, I would say that when you look at the Executive Order number 1 of 2023, the express mandates in each portfolio, we need to see, for example, the Deputy President speaking and addressing and engaging in the critical issues under his portfolio.
Yes.
Than, for example, engaging or talking to issues that, as Martin here says, that somebody may say is not an actual priority. I also think that when it comes to organizing all these national consultations, they should not be apparatives for chaos that anxiety of many, on the part of many, is entertaining.
Thank you.
But I think we are able to have a greater country when leaders are sober and give the right direction.
Thank you, Mark. Your final remarks, 40 seconds on it.
I think Kenyans need to focus on what is important for Kenya. Keep the main thing the main thing. It's about food, it's about progress, it's about the energy to get there. That's what we need to focus on. Our leaders, whether in opposition or in government, need to be laser focused to deliver those things. Each 1,000 shillings, 100 shillings in your pocket should stretch and deliver more for you tomorrow than it is now. That is the fight we are in. The freedom we need is economic freedom. We got constitutional freedom. We got freedom from the beberu. Now we need economic freedom. And guess what? That's what the hustler was elected to do.
Thank you. Martin, your final thoughts, very quickly.
We have only one country, and for all the good reason God has given us, has made us all be part of this country. Those of us who are called as me or politician or opposition are part of Kenya. Those who are not very clever or not very smart are part of Kenya. Those who are Christians are part of Kenya. Those who do not profess anything, I believe they still believe in something, are part of Kenya. So the only way we can grow this country is to embrace each other. To talk about handshake in a manner that is despicable is not acceptable. Because basically what you're saying is that if we have reason to talk and to say and to greet each other, we should, as Kenyans. Right. If you have reason to sit down and reason, let's sit down and talk.
Thank you.
Let's not castigate other people. Let's not create divisions unnecessarily.
Thank you. Let's leave it there, gentlemen. Martin Olo, lawyer and political analyst, communication strategist Mark Bichach, and political analyst Javas Bigambo. Many thanks for joining us on Front and Center to help us make sense of what's happening in this country. We'll continue to cover this for you in the way only we can. Be sure to join us every Thursday night from 9:45 p.m. as we try and get into the most important issues for you as a Kenyan. I am Ben Kitili. On behalf of the whole team here, thank you for watching. Good night from Nairobi.